This right here is what keeps me coming back.
All right. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to our Serious Angler podcast, episode number 148, 2 episodes away from a big old party coming this Friday.
Full week of live.
Full week of live. Tonight, we are joined by Mr. Brandon LESTER of the Elite Series. And then, as a reminder to everybody, Wednesday, we have Derek Hudnall. And on Friday, Mr. Mark Rose. But 3 podcasts all live this week, all going to be really fun, big parties. But, dude, it's been a wild day. I've been up since 3 in the morning, and I'm not in New York anymore. I'm down in Tennessee, early in Athens, for 30 minutes from Lake Chickamauga, which I'll be putting in the work in this week for the Bass Nation Kayak Derby this weekend.
Dude, if you come across any sweet tackle, you need to, call me or text me because I might have you pick me some stuff up.
Oh, you're too late. I already stopped at Cane Pole in Kentucky. I picked up some things.
I let you know in on the brownbacks, and then you let me down.
Hey, there were none left, so I couldn't get any brownbacks. It doesn't count.
Well, I tried.
Now, I'll be going to our buddy Jacob Fouts and Alex Rudd mentioned the Dayton Boat Dock, I believe it's called. Brandon could probably confirm that with us. It said it's the best one around. So
Need you to give me some flat sides, some Tennessee flat side balsas.
Okay.
Craw or shad.
I got to pick up a net because
I
lost
heard you lost it on Oneida.
So I kind of need that one for Saturday. Can't really boat flip everything in that outback, but
I don't have a net in my boat.
Well, it's different. You have a boat. You have room to put them on the deck. If I put them on the deck, I'm getting a treble hook in a place I don't want to get a treble hook.
That's fine.
Oh, man.
So,
fun podcast tonight. And you got anything coming up that we can talk about, or are we going to get right into it, Brandon?
I got nothing coming up. So my Marine Merchant Captain's License got accepted today. So in about 6-8 weeks, I'm going to have my red book in. We're going to be able to start booking trips on Lake Erie for some big smallmouth out of Buffalo. So really excited about that.
If anyone's looking to get on some big old smallies, we know a couple guys. One of them's right here.
Yeah, just a couple. And they're all guys.
Yep.
So,
well, enough with that. But dude, congratulations. That's awesome. I know it's been a long time coming, but we'll talk a little bit more about that after. Yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about that after the show. But let's get him on here, Mr. Brandon LESTER. What's going on, man?
I'm good. How are y'all doing?
Good. Not as good as you, putting a full day in the stand. I'm still aching from my 11.5 car ride, but it sounds like you had an eventful day.
It was a fun day. It was fun. Pretty slow this morning, but this afternoon was definitely good. I saw tons of deer and didn't see a big one, but it's just a matter of time. I think they're definitely starting to get active around here.
Sounds like things are picking up for you though, so that's good.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I'm not a big hunter. I actually don't hunt at all. But Bailey, I think on opening day, got a 10-point with his bow. So
it was the 4th or 5th day in actually. But
yeah, he's been promising me venison. I've seen him 3 times. He's yet to give it to me. So he's just falling flat on everything.
I'm really glad about remembering stuff. But yeah, I gotta get you some venison. But yeah, my brother and I had a real quick story. I know nobody really likes to listen to hunting on this platform, but my brother and I, by 7:30 in the morning, sunrise was 7 o'clock. By 7:30, I had shot a 9, and my brother shot a big 8 we were within 80 yards of each other. So, yeah.
That's awesome.
It was an eventful morning, that's for sure. But Brandon, welcome to the show, man. I know it's your first time on here. And I was supposed to tell you Ronnie Moore says hello. I was on the phone with him today, and he told me to say hi.
Hey, Ronnie.
But before we get too deep in the show, man, everybody who's new to the show, we like to ask, what your first fishing experience was like, that first bass catch, who got you into it, the whole 9 yards.
The first bass I remember catching, and I'm not certain that it's the first bass I ever caught, but the first one I ever remember, I was 6 years old, I think. And there's a little bitty creek. It's not far from where I live now, maybe 15 or 20 minutes away. And it's not much more than just a little pool of water. And I was down there with my dad with a live minnow, a bobber, and a split shot. And that's the first bass I remember catching. I mean, it was probably 1.5 pounds or 2 pounds, but I mean, I guess it must have lit a fire because I've been fishing ever since.
Yeah.
That was at a smallie.
No, it was a largemouth, just a little creek largemouth. Yeah, yeah.
Up here, those are rare.
It wasn't until later on that I started catching some smallmouth here around home. We're pretty blessed here in Tennessee. I mean, we got big largemouth, we got big smallmouth. You know, there's some spotted bass around here, so we definitely got a lot of diversity when it comes to our fisheries. But no, I grew up fishing creeks, farm ponds, rivers. I mean, not necessarily hardcore bass fishing even. I mean, I've always just kind of been just a fisherman, but you know, bass fishing's how I found a way to make a living, I guess.
Heck yeah. Awesome. I might have to pick your brain on some secret honey holes to go fish after the tournament this week. But no, you make a great point. Yeah. You make a great point, though, is like, I feel like a lot of anglers, like, if they live around the country and you hear about a lot of guys moving to different states so they can, to help like better their skills, right, to be around different areas. And I feel like it's either Tennessee or Alabama that you see all these guys moving to because of the diversity. And also you're kind of like almost, I think Tennessee is probably the most central location for a lot of your guys' tournaments.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, you see a lot of guys moving to the Guntersville area. And where I live in southern middle Tennessee, I'm only an hour and 20 minutes from Guntersville.
Right.
So, you know, I'm basically, within 2 hours, I can be to all the really good Tennessee River lakes. You know, Guntersville, Wheeler, Wilson, Pickwick, all of those are within a couple of hours. So, I mean, you can't beat that.
Yeah. What would you say is your home lake then?
The lake that I really cut my teeth on is a lake called Timms Ford Lake. So I would compare it to like a small Dale Hollow. It's 10,000 acres. It's got smallmouth, largemouth. It's deep, it's clear, a lot of rock, no grass whatsoever. So that's where I started out kind of fishing club tournaments and stuff when I was 16, 17 years old. And then I started going to Guntersville and learning about grass and fishing grass and that kind of thing. And,
right.
Yeah.
So how'd you wind up getting into tournaments then? Was your dad into it at all, or is that something you got on your own?
No, not really. I just, like I said, I always just loved to fish. And in high school, I met a good friend of mine, Hobie Kayaks. We started fishing together. We fished together in college, but in high school, he was into fishing bass tournaments. He had fished a few bass tournaments, and we started fishing some club tournaments together. And man, it wasn't long before every weekend we were fishing a tournament somewhere, whether it be on Timms Ford or Guntersville, and then, like I said, we went to college at UT Chattanooga, you know, and it just kind of blossomed from there. We fished a couple of collegiate national championships out in Texas. So that's basically how I got my start.
Right. So to talk to us a little bit then about like your timeline from starting tournaments and then obviously getting to where you are now on the elites.
Yeah, so like I said, I started fishing tournaments 16 or 17 years old. Then went on to college. I'd say, you know, I think about it now that I'm 32 years old and I have kids, what my parents must have thought, and Robbie's parents must have thought, my fishing partner, when we're 19 years old, dragging a bass boat 12 hours across the country to Texas to fish a collegiate national championship by ourselves. You know, I mean, college kids do it all the time nowadays also, but I don't know. I guess our parents had a lot of trust in us. But then after that, you know, after college, I came back to my hometown, got a job, went to work, and decided to start fishing the Bassmaster Opens. 2012 was the first year I fished the Bassmaster Southern Opens with hopes of qualifying for the Elite Series. That was always my dream. and I wanted to give myself a chance. You know, I was fully prepared. If it didn't work out, then we'll figure out another way. I wanted to do something in the fishing industry, certainly. But 2012, I fished the Opens. Didn't qualify my first year, but the second year I fished them in 2013. I won the 2013 Southern Opens points. So I qualified for the Elite Series in 2014.
Nice.
So this year we just wrapped up my 7th season on the Elite Series, man, and it's flown by. I can't believe how quickly those 7 years have went by, but I certainly couldn't be happier. That's for sure.
Right.
And I don't want to sound arrogant here, but you've qualified for your 7th Classic now, so you've made a Classic every year.
I missed one.
Did you?
The one at
dang.
Conroe. Yeah, I missed the one at Conroe, but 6 out of 7, I'll take that.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's consistent, man.
I was going to say, congrats on the Classic berth. Are you excited to go to Ray Roberts?
I definitely am. Yeah, I've never been there. You know, I fished close to there, but I've never been there before. But, you know, definitely probably be doing some scouting over there between now and the first of the year. So, yeah, I'm definitely excited about that one. The thing about the Classic, you can't win it if you're not there. So
that's true.
You got to get there, man.
Yeah. Do you have any insight for us if there's going to be an expo?
I do not. You know, the rumor mill's already started to fly.
Yeah.
I mean, it is Texas, and they seem to not care about any rules. So maybe they'll stick y'all outside or something.
I don't know. We'll see. I certainly hope so. Gosh, yeah. I hope we can get back to normal by then.
Yeah. 100%. This past Classic, I went down to work the Douglas booth, and it was an incredible experience down at in Alabama and Birmingham. But
yeah.
And you had yourself a derb there too. I thought day one you were going to run away with at least day one weights, but obviously Hank screwed it up for everybody. But if you had to pick one, like the most memorable derb throughout your career that kind of like maybe helped you decide like this is what I want to do with my career, is there a tournament that you can remember that was kind of almost career changing?
Yeah, I guess the first one that comes to mind is my first year on the Elite Series. I was on the Classic bubble. I mean, I took it down to the wire. I went into the AOY championship in Escanaba, Michigan, having to catch them, or I didn't make the Classic. You know, and it wasn't really a make or break thing. I mean, I wasn't dead broke, and if I didn't get a check, I wasn't going. I mean, it wasn't a deal like that. But I desperately wanted to make that Classic. I mean, that was something that I felt like I needed to do for myself and for my sponsors. And I showed up there, and I think I'm pretty sure I finished in the top 10 in that deal. I mean, I had like 24 pounds the first day. I was in second place, I think, after the first day. So I pretty much knew at that point that I had made the Classic, you know, and that just, I don't know, making the Classic that first season, and that just kind of told myself, it did a lot for my confidence and told me that, you know, hey, I belong here. I can do this, you know.
Right. Yeah.
You know, taking a step back here, Escanaba, didn't you guys fish like 2 days and like out of 6, like because you kept postponing them? Like I remember that.
Yeah, we did. It was crazy, and it's crazy too because that's such a great fishery. But I don't know if we'll ever go back because the weather is
maybe not that time of year.
Yeah.
How was that mentally on you? Like sitting there, like, oh my gosh, for 3 days canceled in, now I get to go fishing finally. What was your mind? What was your thought process going into that last day? Because you fished like day one, and then there was like a 3 or 4 day break, and then it was like a last day make it or break it, if I remember correctly, right?
Yeah, I think that's right, and I think by the end of it, we were all just like, let's get it over with, you know. I mean, gosh, let's just go. But no, it was good, and it worked out good. I think I had 24 the first day, and then the second day I didn't do as good because I ended up having to split my fish up some with some other guys, but it ended up working out good enough that I made the Classic.
It's awesome.
Yeah. I put up a comment on the screen here from Rich Lindgren, a friend of ours on the show. Hello Bass. He has his own YouTube channel. Everyone should check that out. But he had commented that he said that boat dock catch in the Gunnersville Classic that Lester had, where he was flipping that giant over the rope, made me even a bigger Lester fan.
I remember that fish.
It's funny. Yeah. It's funny. I did not realize that fish weighed over 6 pounds, like 6'4", I think, and just a big old pre-spawn female. And I had flipped her over that rope. There was a pontoon boat and a rope was holding it. I flipped it over that rope, and it was happening so fast in my mind. My thought process was, well, I flipped it over the rope. I might as well just boat flip it. So that's what I did. I just flipped it twice.
At that point, you're already in. So that fish just hooked good.
Yep.
It's funny, like, as bass fishermen, I feel like we almost had to live and die by, like, making those casts. We're like, you know what? I made it in there. I'll figure out how to land it if I hook one.
That's exactly right.
That was awesome. Yeah. You can't be afraid.
Nope. I tell people all the time, if you don't get the bite, I promise you're not going to catch him. Yeah. So, I mean, if you make an iffy cast and you don't get him, hey, at least you tried.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, make the cast and worry about putting him in the boat later.
That's right. Yep.
We have had a comment. What's that?
I said, that's my philosophy anyway.
Right. We had a comment as well. Someone was asking, out of the Tennessee chain lakes, what would you pick? I'm assuming they mean like as your favorite.
Yeah. Let's see. I would probably have to go with Gunnersville just because it's close to home, and I do spend quite a bit of time there. I'd say I fish there 25 times a year, probably something like that. I mean, but Pickwick would be a close second. Pickwick is an awfully good lake, man. And you got really two different lakes in one. When you go to Pickwick, you can fish up near McFarland, up near the tail race, and there are giant largemouth, but it's known for great big smallmouth up there. And then you get down on the lower end, Bear Creek, Yellow Creek, that area down there, down to the lower dam, and that's where most of the good ledge fishing goes on. So, Pickwick is definitely a close second, but all of them are good. They really are.
Right. Those, I think Travis Manson, Smallmouth Crush, has a really good video of the Pickwick Dam throwing swim baits for.
Mm-hmm.
I think in 3 casts he had a big largemouth, big spot, and a big smallmouth.
Yeah. I think I saw some of that video.
Yeah,
that was catching giants too. Yeah.
Ever since that, it's been on my bucket list to get down there and try that. Yeah. That place looks unreal. But I heard Wilson's pretty good too.
It is really good, and if you want a chance at a true giant, the past few years anyway, Wilson has been where most of the 6+ pound smallies have been coming from, even some 7 and 8s.
Yeah, I would say I have a buddy down there who sent me a picture of an 8-pounder last fall in the tournament.
Yep.
So just gigantic smallmouth. I mean, I live on Buffalo in Lake Erie, so I'm used to big smallies, but 8-pounders are rare. Whenever I see one upper 6s, I'm just like, whew.
Yeah.
Don't get too many of those.
I know. Even over 7, man. I mean, I've caught a bunch of smallmouth, and I think 6-12 is my biggest. I've never broke 7. That's just when you get over a 7-pound smallmouth, that's like a 12-pound largemouth. That's a great big one.
Oh yeah, and they fight so hard too most of the time. It's like, oh,
they
God.
do. Yeah.
Trick you thinking it's a big drum.
Yeah.
But our buddy Adam Bartusik asked in the comments, he said, out of any fall events, were there any that you enjoyed? He said, as odd as that sounds, but any you'd like to go back to in the fall, because obviously we know how good they are in the spring.
You know what? Lake Fork was the funnest one of the fall events, I think. Gunnersville was not too fun. Chickamauga was not too fun. I'll just be honest with you. They were dadgum tough. And it sucks, too, because I know both of those fisheries pretty well, and I know just how darn good they can be and how good they are, But at the end of the day, my hat's still off to Bass for making sure that we got to finish the season. I mean, we were all worried about that at one point in this year, whether we were going to get to finish our season. And no, we were not there at the best times to showcase the lake, but hey, we got to have our tournaments, and it's all
Right.
good.
Right. And honestly, when you think, I mean, personally, I loved it because you did see a lot of, the elite guys struggle. And I think with that, I think, for the avid fan, they learned a lot from watching you guys, go through the process of trying to, figure things out on the fly each day during a tournament. I personally enjoyed it for that. But it was also kind of cool because it was like it almost was kind of fitting with this year with COVID because the lack of football. It was kind of like you guys kind of filled that gap on those weekends. So it was kind of like I think I've heard business strategies before of Bass or any trail not having fall tournaments because of the conflict with football. But I think this year just kind of worked out with that in your guys' favor. I think it was a big hit personally.
I hope so. I hope we got some people watching. We had a lot of ESPN2 time live on ESPN2, which is huge for the sport of bass fishing.
Heck yeah.
And I hope we got a lot of people watching and interested in bass fishing that weren't before. I mean, that's good for everybody.
Yeah.
Now, do you think they'll live stream next year on ESPN2 again or ESPN3?
I certainly hope so. I mean, I haven't heard. I know some of the numbers were really, really good. So hopefully so.
I thought I heard over 8 million or something like that.
It was something like that. I mean, it was astronomical.
You're like getting up there to football ratings, I feel like.
Yeah.
8 million's a lot of people.
That is a lot of people, man. That's good. It's really good.
Yeah. It's not good for our fisheries, but it's good for the sport.
Right. Yeah. No, I've been thinking that too. I'm like, man, if all these people start fishing, they're going to have to start building some more lakes.
Yeah. Especially like Lake Fork when they did like the 3+ camera when they go like panned over the lake. And it's just like 3-pounder. You can see right where they dropped the spots. You're just like, oh my gosh. Like,
I know,
those spots are all ruined. At least it's Lake Fork because everybody already fishes there in that region. So it doesn't matter that much. But if it was like a Chick or Gunnersville where there might be a couple secret spots and they pop that off, they're like, oh, there goes that hole for the next 15 years.
Right. That's an interesting topic, though, when you kind of think about it. And I hate to sound negative here, and I don't mean it in a negative way, but everyone always preaches, grow the sport, right? But how do we know when the sport's grown? Because it's not like a football where, you can just build a field, The lakes have a capacity, Like as we saw this year, those lakes got pounded more than they're used to.
Yeah.
It's an interesting topic to think about.
It is very interesting, and I mean, you start seeing all that pressure take its toll too. I mean, if you don't believe that, just look at the weights at the Chickamauga tournament and the Gunnersville tournament. That's after those fish have been pounded all summer long out there on the ledges. You got fish in between, fish in limbo, and just to give you an example, when we got to Lake Fork, I could go down a stretch of docks with my jig. Or I could pull up to a certain dock, a shallow dock that had brush on it, and I knew there was a bass sitting there. I could fire my jig in there and not get a bite. If I picked up a drop shot and I could get it in there, I would get a bite. Guaranteed. No questions asked. I mean, that tells you those fish have seen a lot of jigs.
Right.
Oh, I'm sure grass and jigs go tenfold with big bass. So.
Oh, yeah.
Those poor fish. They probably had like 10 hook holes in the top of their jaws, too.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. We have a comment here that said, if they had an event out west, where would you want to fish?
I wouldn't mind going back to the California Delta. I got to go there my second year on tour. It's a long dang drive, but it was fun fishing. It really was. If we do go back, I would not want to go back out of Sacramento. We went out of Sacramento and had to run like 70 miles to get to the good part of the Delta. I would want to put in at the Delta.
And that much more fishing time.
Yeah, who knows if we could ever work that out? But I wouldn't mind going back to the Delta.
Right. I think if it in my mind, and not obviously my thinking is never the best, but if it were to happen, I think ideally because obviously only very few guys live out west, right? So obviously it's a lot of travel, a lot more additional funds for a lot of you guys that still live out east. If they were to do it, though, I feel like it would be ideal if you did, 3 within a month span, right? So that way you're not gone from home for too long. you could do like a Delta, maybe a Shasta or something like that, or even just yeah. I think that would definitely be interesting, and then you can obviously take a break for a little bit, and then obviously have your later summer tournaments. I don't know how that would work. Obviously, I'm not the best at logistics, but it would definitely be interesting to see you guys go back out west tonight. It's talked about a lot, but
yeah.
We have another question here. Our friend Adam was asking if you were on tour when they went to
Hawaii.
Is that how you pronounce it? Hawaii?
Yeah, in South Dakota.
He asked what you thought of that place, and would you ever want to go up to the Dakotas or Idaho? I mean, he asked the West Coast, which you just answered West Coast, but he mentioned the Dakotas or Idaho.
Hawaii was a beautiful, beautiful place. Probably one of the coolest places I've ever been. I've not spent a lot of time in the upper Midwest, not out west in general, really. So that was my first trip ever to South Dakota, and it was a really cool place. I didn't have a really good tournament there, but I did learn a lot, and I would like to go back knowing now, knowing what I know now, I would like to have another shot at that place, most definitely, yes.
Right. Did you find yourself getting distracted with looking for deer while in South Dakota?
I did, yes, and there's pheasants up on the bank running around, and gosh, it's just beautiful country,
Right.
Awesome. I mean, I had my family with me, and they had a good time. They went over and saw Mount Rushmore, and I mean, it was a cool trip, a neat experience.
Yeah.
I remember somebody posted about that, and they were like, "Dang you, South Dakota, and all your gravel roads." Like, yeah. I guess like all the roads are like stone to get to Oahe.
Oh man.
Oh, it's the middle of nowhere for sure. I mean, it's a lot of farmland and wide open cornfields, but it was a neat place. And like I said, I learned a lot. It threw me for a curveball. I'm not gonna lie. It was different than any place I've ever been, really. But
right.
I learned a lot at that one. I'd like to go back.
Right.
Yeah, I remember that tournament distinctively because when I heard that you guys were going there, I tried to look up information on bass fishing that lake, and all you could find was walleye stuff.
Yep.
So it's like you guys literally went in like blind.
Yep. That's right. Yeah. No, that's if you look it up, that's what it's known for. They have a lot of big walleye tournaments out there, but obviously it's a pretty darn good smallmouth fishery too.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. What's was it Coeur d'Alene? Is that how it's pronounced in Idaho? Yeah. Is that the big smallmouth lake that they have out there?
It's supposed to be. I think that somewhere right in there is where Polnick's from.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. And
I think that's why people know about it.
Yeah. All I've heard is talk about it, but I've heard it's really good.
Right. I think I've seen a few pictures from his cameraman Kyle. He's posted them and shared them. And that is beautiful country. I don't think you'd be able to do Bassmaster live out there because I doubt their signal. But if you would, that would be incredible TV.
Yeah.
100%. But we have a question here from Jacob Bell asking what your chatterbait setup is.
Chatterbait setup. So I throw mine. I'll go through everything, rod, reel, all that. I throw mine on a 7'3" composite crankbait rod, or basically a crankbait, like a heavier crankbait rod, like a medium heavy cranking rod. You want something that definitely still has enough power to drive the hook home, maybe a little more power than, say, like a shallow cranking rod or something.
Right.
But I like a 7'3". I feel like 7 foot's too short and 7'6" is too long for me. I like 7'3", 7'4" would be okay. I throw it on a 7-to-1 reel is what I throw it on. I know a lot of guys like 6-to-1, but I like 7-to-1 because if I need to slow down, I just reel slower. If I need to get faster, or if one of those fish, a lot of times on a chatterbait, they'll hit it and come right at you, so you can catch up with them.
Right.
And I throw mine on 15 or 17 pound vicious fluorocarbon. Most of the time 17, but I will go down to 15 if I feel like I need to get it down a little deeper, or if the fish are a little finicky. Okay.
So let me get your take on because we hear this argument all the time, and I'm sure you've answered this before too. The argument between graphite versus composite.
Yeah.
What's your take?
So I should have I guess I should have been more clear. I throw mine on it's a graphite rod, but it feels like it's not glass. Okay, it's a blend of graphites, so you still get the feel of graphite. I'm not a big fan of straight glass rods, and I feel like a lot of guys are. Obviously, a lot of guys that are really, really good with a chatterbait are. Right. It's just a personal preference thing. And I mean, heck, dude, I've caught them on a chatterbait on a 7'3" medium heavy graphite rod that you throw a worm on. A lot of times, if they eat it, you're going to catch every one of them. But it's those times when they're not really eating it really good that you might get that couple of extra fish when you want that rod that's got some give to it.
Right. That makes sense. It's an interesting debate because everyone you hear give their take always has good points about it, and then you always get torn about which one. But I think at the end of the day, right, it just comes down to what your personal preference is.
It is, and a lot of it depends on the situation too. Like if I'm just chunking out on a grass flat or just going down the bank with it, I definitely want that composite rod. But if I'm actually skipping it under docks, a lot of times I'll throw it on like a 7'2" medium heavy worm rod or a spinnerbait rod, just so I can be more accurate around docks and stuff.
Fair enough. Yeah, I think that might be one of the most argumentative techniques because everyone has their own opinion. I know somebody who throws it on a 7-foot composite medium action rod. He'll only throw a 3/8 ounce, but he throws it on a 5-3-1 reel, and he just cracks them. Yeah. And I'm like, what the heck? So I feel like it's the one technique you can fish it however you want to and still get bites.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. I mean, I think of it a lot like a lipless crankbait type of deal. As long as you're feeling that vibration, you're not doing it wrong.
Right.
Did I just did my picture blank out here for a second? Or was that just me?
Half a second. You're good.
Okay. They all went black and did the little circle loading thing, and I was like, uh-oh.
That hotel Wi-Fi.
Yeah, we're on that Hamilton or what I even know. Hamilton Inn? I don't know what I'm in. I don't even know. Someplace. But one of my questions for you, Brandon, is, and I'm sure this could obviously fluctuate and be variable depending on time of year and obviously location, but if you were to put it in general, your mindset of approaching practice, in general, what do you typically, how do you approach, a derb in the Elite Series is basically what I'm trying to get at when it comes to your mindset.
So the biggest thing about practice is to remember that it's just that. It's just practice. That's all it is. Just because you have a bad one doesn't mean you're going to have a bad tournament. Just because you have a good practice doesn't mean you're going to have a good tournament. My perfect practice, I like to find an area. No matter where I go, if I look back at most of the tournaments that I've done really well in, it's because I found an area that was good and I really dissected it during the tournament and learned the nuances of that area every single day. And by the fourth day, I was so dadgum dialed in that I was going to catch them. I mean, that's what I like to do. There are guys, it's funny, if you look at guys like Brian Thrift comes to mind. That guy can run a pattern better than anybody in the world. He can make 1,000 stops a day. I cannot do that. My mind spins out when I try to do that. I just can't do it. I need to find an area, and so that's what I always try to accomplish. I try to find me one key area and maybe 2 or 3 spots that I can fall back on if I need to. And I try to let it unfold during the tournament. I try not to get too dialed in during practice because you need to go into the tournament with an open mind.
Okay. That's good. Like that.
Definitely a fair point. Just because you never know, leading up to practice, you're out there for 3 days beforehand. It could be 75 or 95 and sunny most of the time down there in the south. And that first day of the tournament comes, it'll be blowing 30, cloudy, and raining 3 inches.
That's right.
So, because that's the way it goes on tournament day every time.
Yeah. But if you can find an area, whether it's a creek or a section of the lake that has a lot of fish in it, then your job is then not to run around like a crazy man. It's just to hunker down and figure out how you can catch them now, because they're still there.
Yep.
You hear so many guys, and myself included, I've said it too. Man, I went back during the tournament and they were just gone. They just left. But in all actuality, that does not happen very often. Most of the time, something small changes, and we got to figure it out. Sometimes we can, sometimes we can't.
Right.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the craziest things about our sport is there's so many variables that we can't control, and it's up to us. And we have 8 hours on the water on a tournament day to figure it out, and hopefully we figure it out in the first 2. Because if we don't, we just start spiraling after about 6. So
that's right.
You just hope you show up and they're just going crazy, busting, and you're out of all day.
Yep.
I knew that was the right decision.
You're right. Yeah. I think ideally, I don't know if it's just me, but ideally in practice, I like to see varying weather conditions, just so if I do find something, I can see how they set up or act throughout the conditions.
Yep.
Is that something that you can kind of relate to as well, or do you like to see consistency throughout the whole week?
Very rarely, when we show up for the elites, we practice Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then this is a normal week now, and then we'll fish Thursday through Sunday. Very rarely are you going to have the same weather all those days.
Right.
So yeah, I like to see some variation, and most experienced fishermen know that, generally speaking, on a cloudy, windy day, the fish are probably going to be biting more moving bait type stuff like crankbaits, spinnerbaits, chatterbaits. And if you get a high pressure system and it's sunny and bluebird and maybe you get a cold front, then you're probably going to have to do something slow, maybe finesse fish, maybe flip them out, something like that. So every situation's a little bit different, but you just have to keep that in mind. And, that's when a lot of times experience comes into play as well.
100%. That's a good point. Yeah. We have a question here, another kind of specific question towards kind of what gear you use, asking if you're a braid or mono guy for topwater, or even a combo.
Yeah, so walking baits, straight braid, 30-pound vicious no fade braid is what I use. The only time I use straight mono is either on a prop bait, like a devil's horse style bait. I use straight 20-pound vicious mono on that. And on a popar, I still throw straight mono on a popar, unless I'm around grass. If I'm around grass, I'll throw it on braid. But again, that's just one of those personal preference things. It's just how I do it.
Right. Is there a theory as to why throwing straight mono on a popar and not as well on a walking bait?
Yeah, so on a popar, and especially the topwater prop bait, down in Florida, that's a big deal. When you go to like Okeechobee and places like that, a topwater prop bait, you catch giants down there on it. And I kept running into the issue, if you throw it on straight braid, the braid will get wrapped around the front prop on the bait.
Oh, that's never good.
Yeah, it'll foul your bait up. It's terrible. So you almost have to put some kind of a mono leader on there, or put a couple of bobber stops on the line. I've seen guys do some crazy tricks to try to keep from that happening. But I started throwing straight 20-pound mono, and that stopped happening. And another issue I was having is when I'd hook like a 6 or 7 pounder, it would straighten the hooks out on straight braid, because you're making short little small casts to very isolated targets.
Right.
And with that mono, that didn't happen. So it's just a confidence thing, I guess, for the most part. I see guys throw both those things on braid, and that works for them, but the straight mono works best for me.
That makes sense. Great.
Yeah. Now, when you're saying you're straightening the hooks out, I'm guessing you are a guy that just winches down the drag and gets them in the boat no matter what. There's no play in those big fish. That's my kind of style right there.
Yeah, on any casting gear, the first thing I do if I get a new casting reel, I just winch the drag down as far as it'll go. Yeah, I mean, Spinning reel's a totally different story, but a casting gear, I don't use drag. I'll use my thumb. If I get a hold of one man enough to take line, then I can push the button and do it with my thumb.
Fair enough. I am exactly, even like smallies, I'm the same way. I'll be fishing in Lake Erie with like 10-pound test, and I have that drag which all the way down, and I just keep turning. I'm like, they're going to come to me because they're not big enough to break this.
Yeah,
so.
That's right.
Yeah, cool. And the quicker you get them in the boat, the more likely they're going to survive, too, in the long run. So if you wear them way out, they get exhausted and stressed and fatigued. So the goal is just to get them in the boat and go.
Yeah, I just can't stand the drag slipping. I feel like on casting gear, I feel like if you set the drag light enough to where it slips, I feel like I have trouble catching up to them. And they end up getting slack, and then they come off. And it just doesn't work for me. I know it does some people, but it doesn't work for me.
So you almost had to have your thumb on it the whole time while reeling. And I feel like I would lose some fibers and skin on my thumb if I had to do that.
I know Andy had some questions for you pertaining to rod building. Andy, do you want to throw them?
Are you still building MHX rods?
No, I'm not.
No?
No, that deal actually went away last year, and it was just a business decision. Nothing bad to say about them, and I hope it's mutual with them, But no, I've got something new in the works. I've actually gotten to take some of the things that I learned while I was building rods and putting them into a new project. So
awesome.
Be looking.
Can't wait to see it.
A lot. Yep.
Congratulations.
Good.
Thank you.
Yeah, I had a feeling something happened. That's why I wanted to ask, because I was like, MHX isn't the big mainstay on the jersey anymore. Now it's Mustad.
Yeah.
So.
Right. How much time? I'm just curious. How much time do you have to take out of? Maybe I don't know how often you were building rods either, but how long did it usually take you to build one rod?
You can build one in a couple of hours. I could, and there are guys that are probably quicker than me. Your drying time takes a lot longer than that, but once you put the epoxy on, you can walk away from it and let it do its thing. The entire process, 12, 14 hours, for everything to be dry and all that. But just actually me sitting there working on it, an hour and a half to 2 hours.
Okay.
Not terrible.
No, it's a neat deal. It really is. It's a neat deal, and I learned a lot about fishing rods from all that too.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, my last question I have for you, just because I'm curious, is obviously besides TVA system, outside of that, where's your favorite part of the country to go to for fun fishing, not just tournaments?
It's funny. For a long time, probably 5 years on the Elite Series, people would ask me, "What's your favorite lake in the whole country?" And I always told them, I don't know. I don't know, dude. When I went to Lake Champlain in Upper New York, I knew Champlain is it for me. Champlain is heaven for a bass fisherman.
You do everything.
That's the best lake in the country, in my opinion. You can sit on a blow through and catch 33+ pound smallmouth and then go flip grass and catch 4 or 5 pound largemouth. It's a phenomenal fishery, and it's a cool part of the country. So that's my favorite.
Yeah. Andy, you got anything left for Brandon?
Nah, man, hit him with the home run.
All right. We're gonna hit you with one last question, and if the folks have any more questions for Brandon, be sure to get those in right now. If we have time for them, we'll throw them at him. But our last question for you is, if you could invite any 3 people, sit down, have a beer, have a steak. They could be, present. They could have been alive 500 years ago. Doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be the fishing industry either. If you could invite any 3 people, sit down, have a beer, have a steak, and pick their brain, what 3 people are you going to invite?
Oh, wow.
Loaded.
Man, that's a rough one. Gosh.
I love the reaction to this question every time. I think it's my favorite part of the show, because it's always the same thing.
Yeah.
The sign of disbelief.
Yeah, Number one, I would probably say Aaron Martins, and I have got to hang out with Aaron a good bit, but you can never talk to Aaron enough. And by the way, Aaron, if you see this, I hope you're doing well, buddy. But that dude is just full of bass fishing knowledge in general. I mean, as meticulous as he is, I mean, dude, there's a reason he's like 4-time AOY winner or whatever it is.
Right.
That dude is good. So Aaron would definitely be one. Oh, let's see here.
And real quick,
you know what? There's a guy that is synonymous with like Lake Dale Hollow and Tennessee and Big Smallmouth. His name was Billy Westmoreland. He's dead and gone now. He's been dead for many years.
Is he the one who had the world record out of there?
Yes, and he wrote the book called Them Old Brown Fish. I always wished I would have got to meet him. I've got some friends that met him and got to talk to him. So he would definitely be one. I would just like to pick his brain about, because smallmouth are an interesting creature.
Right.
Andrew, I'm sure you can attest to that, living on Erie. But
yeah,
I definitely I'd like to talk to him about the smallmouth and his theories on why they do certain things, because that's old school. You know, what he learned was from experience, not by watching a graph or anything like that. It was from experience.
Right.
And then the third would probably be, man, I don't know.
Just real quick, if I told you how much them old brown. Ooh, that's a good one.
I like that.
You go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I just looked up Them Old Brown Fish. You will never guess how much that book is selling for.
How much?
Like $250 and up.
Really?
Yeah,
Dang.
I just Googled it real fast. I was like, ooh, I feel like I've heard that book. And I was like, the cheapest one I found was on Amazon. They got one copy left for it's like $120. But the rest of them are like $250 to $280.
That's crazy. Huh.
I apologize. I got super excited about it there. I was like, my gosh, that is ridiculous.
No, you're fine. But no, you know, when you're growing up, people always ask you, who's your role model and this and that. And I always told people Denny Brower. He was definitely somebody that I looked up to, you know, as a kid growing up. I just always liked his fishing style and the way he carried himself and the way, you know, he took one technique, flipping and pitching, and just dominated, you know, several tournaments and won a classic that way. And working with Mustad, I've actually got to meet Denny, and he's become a friend, and he's just as nice and just as much of a legend as you would hope he would be. So definitely like hanging out with that dude as well.
Now, on the Denny Brower subject, did you watch the Stray Cast episode the other night with him, Jason Christie, and Hackney?
I did not, but I'll have to, because that's three of a kind right there.
all I remember is like Hackney be like, "Oh man, come on!" and Jason was laughing, and Denny just didn't stop laughing for like the 20 minutes I watched. I don't even think he said a sentence; he just laughed the whole time. And I was like, he just seems like a fun dude to be around if he's just gonna laugh the whole time. Man.
It was a good episode for sure. That was a funny one. It was pretty much Denny and Hackney ganging up on Christie, calling him a coot.
Yeah, he is. He's a nice guy.
Yep, 100%. Well, I think
I feel like the Elite Series might be a little more interesting next year. Even not saying it's not interesting now, but with those guys coming back, possibly it's going to add a whole nother dynamic. Oh, we cut out.
I think we have a lag.
Oh yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean,
glitchy. Let's see. We
got me?
Oh, you're kind of cutting in and out, but we'll see if that worked.
Can you guys
hear me? We can hear you.
We can hear you now.
It's my stupid hotel Wi-Fi, probably.
Okay. Yep. I'm here. Okay.
Okay.
But yeah, no, you're exactly right. You know, and I mean, I hope those guys qualify.
More competition, the better, right? Yeah, a little bit.
No, the series will definitely be interesting, no doubt. And if Christy comes, oh yeah, yeah. If if Jason Christie requalifies, that's one less check we'll be fishing.
Oh yeah, he's like Mr. Money. He's always in that cut. I feel like when he was there, always. And if he was like in the top 20, watch out come day 3.
I think we have a big lag.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
All right, Brandon. Well, we have quite a lag going on here, so I think that we're gonna end it right there. And but we just want to say thank you for coming on tonight.
Yes, thank you.
Get to tuning in, and we learned a bunch from you, and you're always welcome on the show, man. Give it 3 seconds for him to hear.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for having me. I certainly enjoyed it. Looking forward to doing this again.
Yeah, and best of luck if you're going to sit in the stand tomorrow. I hope you get a big old buck.
Yep. Good luck, and take care. Have a good night.
All right, guys. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, have a good one.
It was like right at the last 2 minutes, Wi-Fi just shot the bed, unfortunately.
Yeah,
but
for whatever reason, yeah.
We had him during the important parts, and we appreciate Brandon coming on. So huge thank you to Brandon, and down in the description, if you guys aren't following him already, go down and follow his social medias. It would mean a lot to us and a lot to him. But that was a blast talking about it. We learned a bunch, and I might have to see if there's a secret pond or a little creek or something I can go hop in on Sunday after the tournament. Unless Chick's really good. Sounds like it's a struggle bus right now, but if it's really good, I'll probably go back out. But we'll see what happens. But I'm excited I got 4 days of practice for Chickamauga this week, and then Derby Saturday. I think there's 160 people in it right now so far. So that's 10,000 for first. So we'll see.
Better win, boy.
That's the plan. Win. That's the plan. We'll
Get
see.
that sick 1099 for him.
The W9 that we had to sign. Yep, gotta love that. But no, thank you guys. Thank you to everybody who tuned in tuning in to watch, ask some questions. We do appreciate it. If you guys are listening to this the next on Tuesday or a day after, we have another live session Wednesday night at 7:30 with Derek Hudnall of the Elite Series, and then Friday as well as episode number 150. With Mark Rose, that will be live as well, also at 7:30 p.m. On Friday, we'll be giving away
a lot of giveaways. Make sure you share, tag your friends, have some fun after Bass and Bourbon on Wednesday.
Yeah, make sure you guys tune into both those episodes, and then definitely tune into 150 so you guys can enter for those giveaways. If you're listening to this right now and it's not Friday, it's before Friday, make sure you go to our Instagram page and you can enter to win some Serious Angler swag. Just go tag a friend, follow us on Instagram or Facebook or Twitter. They're going on all 3. But
and make sure you tune in Friday as well, because there's going to be some live giveaways going on during the podcast. So make sure you're thinking of some good questions to get those in.
Yep. From all of our sponsors, our show partners, and Mark Rose is giving away a signed jersey. So make sure you guys head over to that and tune in. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a party. But as always, thank you guys for watching and listening. We'll see you guys on Wednesday.